in your wall. University, Prospect, Clay Ave, Webster Park, Tracy Tower.
Stay True Music, Faithwalk ENT presents
Y'all fools just started something.
Get It Poppin'.
Y'all fools just started something. Y'all fools
by
just
Mad
started
Eaton.
something. And if you wanna bring it, get it poppin' right now.
The hit single, Get It Poppin'.
And if you wanna bring it, get it poppin' right now. Get it poppin' like a can soda. I thought I told ya. Once my name step in the frame, game over.
Available now worldwide.
Columbus, Ohio, listen up, ditch the tax stress, and jump into the fast lane with New Lane Tax Services. All right, let's cut to the chase. Tax season is approaching quickly, and the pile of paperwork looks scarier than the line at the DMV on a Monday morning. It doesn't have to be that way. Introducing New Lane, your new go-to for stress-free taxes. Whether you're a freelancer juggling gigs or a small business owner expanding your empire, New Lane's got your back. With a team of tax pros who know the knowledgeable in tax law, credits, and deductions, we make sure you're not leaving a single dollar on the table. And the best part? We're right here in the neighborhood, ready to tackle your taxes with a cup of the finest Columbus coffee in hand. So why wait? Contact New Lane Tax Services and let's make this next tax season a breeze.
Yo, you already know, it's your boy LaRon Darnell, man, and I'm back with part 3 of how Birdman's hitman caught 40 bodies and somehow escaped prison. So with that being said, man, we're gonna get right into this video, man. No cap. Let's do it.
So here's what happens. At first they were just a two-man crew, Mosquito and Terrence stepping and selling everything. But then another guy would come around the neighborhood, a guy who was into a completely different life in the streets. This would be a guy named George Cookie Cooks of the Magnolia Projects.
Okay, it took me a while to really become friends with George Cooks, because when we first would come around the neighborhood, he was like a standoffish. He was like maybe a year or two older than me. So I was like, yo, they call you Cookie? He looked at me like, yeah, like all his answers were short. I was like, who do you think he is? Because I was trying to be his friend.
As he stated, George was a bit older and he was also a professional car thief. And being that gangsta loved to impress his peers, when George came around, he wanted to show him that he could steal cars too, even though he had never driven before.
So one day I come around and he was a professional car thief. He bring me like a block off St. Charles Road, 3rd Street somewhere, and he was like, man, I got this car. So it's a Burgundy 98. Now mind you, I had never drove a car in my life. So he tell me, say, man, later on we're gonna go ride.
Finally, Gangsta gets to do something with George Cooks, and he's excited and he agrees to do it. He then tells him that he has to go home to bathe and that he'll meet up with him later. But really, Gangsta has other immediate plans.
All right, I'm about to go home now, take me a bath, and then we'll come back, all right? So I walked up 2nd Street like I was going to take a bath, and I turned left, and I come back up 3rd.
He really wants to impress George and show him that he can steal cars too.
And I go steal the car. So like I said, it's my first time driving. So I turn the corner a little fast. Or when I hit Jackson Avenue, I'm going up the wrong lane.
Gangsta has no idea what he's doing, but he really wants George Cooks to see that he had stolen a car. So he tries his best to drive up the block that George is posted on.
I got nervous because I go on this 2-way street, but the car's here, so it's kind of small.
He was like, look, bro, I don't know how to drive, but I stole the car. Tripping.
So a car coming my way, so I had to put in reverse. I backed up in these people's houses.
His plan goes horribly as he backs up into someone's house and has to run away.
Jumped out the laboratory, tried to catch a run. George see me later on that night.
So even though his initial plan had failed, he ended up going to steal a car with George later that night. And as crazy as it seems, this is how George and Gangsta became close friends.
And from there, we just got cool. We just started hanging out.
So now, instead of it being a 2-man clique, George, Gangsta, and Mosquito were a 3-man army. So they were already selling products and doing hits, but now stealing cars was added to the equation. On a regular basis, they would steal people's cars and simply joyride them around New Orleans for fun. Eventually, it was only a matter of time before they steal the wrong person's car. And that takes us to March 24th, 1990.
March 24th, 1990. was hanging in the Magnolia Project right on Washington Avenue. So We leave. We go around 2nd and Danielle. There's some new guys on our set.
Gangsta and George are not thrilled that there's guys posted on their infamous corner of 2nd and Danielle. So that's when Gangsta decides that that's cause for them to rob them.
So me and George go back around on 3rd Street, come through the fence, hop the fence, come up the alley, and we rob them.
After they rob them, George isn't satisfied as he also wants to take their car. So after going through these people's pockets, Gangsta and George also hop in their car and drive off.
This guy got a Mitsubishi Galant lowrider with a lot of boom in it. So we go joyride, we go to the Calio first, then we make our round to the Melf because we was on our way across the river.
So Gangsta and George are just joyriding around the city with nothing on their minds. Little do they know the guys who they robbed were just civilians and they decided to call 911. So while the duo is out joyriding for fun, NOPD is looking for the Mitsubishi Galant.
Police put the siren on and pull us over. I'm thinking we better jump out of the run, George step on it. So we flying up Simon Boulevard, which turns to LaSalle Street. Flying up there, when we get to Jackson and LaSalle, police pull right there to block us off. And George kept speeding. I said, what? We got to the Magnolia Project. Jump out the truck.
High speed chase.
Run in the project. I thought I had got away, so I hid in the hallway. Man, that police came around and found me in there, handcuffed me, brought me out. Then he caught George in another courtyard.
And just like that, Gangsta is arrested for the first time ever. The district attorney does not take the crime lightly as they sentence him to juvenile life.
Yeah, we went to juvenile jail.
Juvenile life. Wow, so I think he said he was 13. Not sure. But that means until he's 21. He ain't getting out until he's 21. Juvenile life. Yeah. That's 21. That's crazy.
We wound up getting juvenile life. Back then, juvenile life was until you're 21 years old.
21,
You have more important
like I
things in life
said.
to think about than your internet. At BreezeLine, we propel life forward with home internet.
From a little ass kid locked up all the way until a grown ass man. How you get juvenile life?
Gangsta now had
Your
to spend
first time
ages
locked up
15
as a
to
young boy.
21 in one of America's worst juvenile facilities. From here, Gangsta is transported from New Orleans up I-10 to the disgusting Baker, Louisiana, a hot, stinky, sticky, and dangerous jail called LTI Baker. Here, Gangsta was introduced to a new environment, nothing like anything on the streets. In his life, he had gone straight to gunplay and he had never really fought before. But in LTI Baker, everything was about fighting and he had to get down. He recalls riots and major fights between the 3rd Ward, which he claimed, and pretty much everyone else. Overall, it was just a terrible experience and he and his friends did not want to be there. So that's when a fellow 3rd Wardian came up with an idea. Let's break out of jail. So for weeks, a friend named Bryce devised a master plan for him and his 3rd Ward homies to break out of LTI.
He was up there too in juvenile, so Bryce come up with this bright idea, let's break out of jail. I was like, all right, cool. First, we came up with a plan. It was a lady and a man working there. So I heard about you take the little eye drop stuff, you put it in it and knock them out. So we were gonna put that in the lady drink. But then I was scared. I was like, no, that lady might die. So then we come up with this idea, okay, look, get the mop wringer, put that plastic, that hard plastic, right? So Toto was gonna hit the bat over the head, and we're gonna take the keys and try to bail out.
Even though this is a horrible plan, they decide to go for it on a particular night. This is without any idea of how they'll get back to New Orleans, cause it's not like you can walk there. Well, this initial plan did not work out, as Gangsta saw police lights as soon as they tried to do it. So they all backed out at the last minute and figured they needed a better strategy. So this is when Bryce comes up with the perfect plan.
Bryce get the bright idea to get one of his people to come up there and get us. So he was like, he said, man, you wanna break out? All right, cool. I heard the seal say, Darren Moore, I said, what's up? He said, your uncle called up here, you gonna have a visit tomorrow. He said, man, they up here. I was like, all right. So they had all of us come outside and get in a long line. This particular day, they had all the dorm tourists, whoever had to get medication that night, come out, and they made us get in a long 2 lines and walked us all the way up front.
So now the trio was in the medicine line waiting for Bryce's people to show up. As soon as they see the car, they're ready to break off and run towards the exit.
So we sit down, right, and how it's made, it's like a little horseshoe, like a real hospital. A car come out, they got the headlights on. It was like, there they go. I said, no, that ain't them, that's not them, sit down. So I'm nervous. So they come back, say, man, that's them. I said, y'all ready? Let's go. We jump up and take our running towards the front gate.
Now they're all sprinting towards the gate, which is guarded by an overweight officer.
And now I gotta face the man again and try to juke. I went around this little fast cell, hit my head jumping in the car. We head out.
The first step is a success as they juked out the guard, hopped in the car, and took off. Now they're headed through Baton Rouge in a junkyard car that's filled to capacity. As they're driving through North Baton Rouge, they figure that they successfully evaded police. But then they start hearing sirens in the distance that keep getting louder and louder.
That's what I
the
thought.
Police finally start to catch
That's what
up.
I thought,
That's when they
man.
decide to pull a left on 72nd. They then approach a small bridge, which the driver believes that they won't be able to clear.
So now we going on this bridge. Now they behind us now. The man, two of y'all gotta get out the car. Toto, the youngest one in the car with us. Toto like, all right, I'm gonna go. I jump out the car with him.
So now Gangsta and Toto are on foot and running down the bridge. Once the police catch up,
Man, this dude has some type of angel on his side. Or something. Because, man, from a youngin', I can't see how he was getting away with a lot of this shit, man.
they instantly stopped chasing the car and began to chase the two on foot.
So as we running down the bridge, I asked Toto, I said, Toto, you want to jump off now? He said, yeah. So I jump off like, bro, don't get like about the bridge, baby, like high as up here.
So they jump off the bridge, run into a neighborhood, and begin hopping fences. They then take off their LTI shirts and throw them in someone's backyard. Gangsta is smart enough to know that they won't be able to get away on foot, so he comes up with a second plan. As they're sprinting through backyards, he notices a treehouse with a ladder. So he yells at Toto to stop and to climb up with him. So they quickly climb up into the treehouse while police are searching.
We laying down. I hear the deputy guard, whatever, out there. They running somewhere, here go their shirts. Man, mosquitoes tearing us up. We up there, man.
That's crazy, I know, and this is summertime. What I don't understand is how if a deputy or cops was out there, like, yeah, I see these shirts, such and such. Why didn't they think of, like, looking in the treehouse? I don't get it. Why didn't they look in the treehouse?
They used to be after bad. And in the LTI, they run out of toilet paper lot, so we always kept toilet paper in our pocket. So I did a number 2 right quick. He gonna tell me, man, you stink. We up here in the hole, of course, mistake. We right here by each other.
It's steaming hot, it smells terrible, and they're being eaten up by mosquitoes. So Toto's making an understandable fuss, but Gangsta tells him to stay put.
Man, them people somewhere out there, stop talking, man. We need to be quiet till nighttime get here, so we can get out of here.
For hours and hours, they wait patiently in the disgusting treehouse. Then night comes around and Gangsta figures that it's safe to hop down. As they're walking through the neighborhood, Gangsta has a revelation. We won't be able to walk back to New Orleans. So that's when he approaches a random man in the North Baton Rouge neighborhood. But instead of asking him for a ride, he asks him for a screwdriver so he can steal a car.
I said, man, can you help us out? I said, man, we need a screwdriver so we can steal a car.
That's a wild question to ask a random person, but here's how the man responds.
He said, look, man, y'all can't steal nothing around here, but...
That is something crazy to ask a random person you run up on. Hey, you got a screwdriver, man, so I can steal a car? Like, really? These dudes was tripping.
Go down there on that corner and wait in the abandoned house. I got somebody gonna come back and gonna bring y'all to go steal a car.
And just like that, they have an escape plan. A random man in North Baton Rouge is gonna help them steal a car so they can get home.
It's like, all right, cool. So we run down the street, go across the high in the abandoned house. We chilling. I see a police come by, got nervous a little bit. They kept going, so the brown Cadillac pull up. You go jump in the back. He said, yeah, man, I was in LTI back in the day. He bring us to this club to steal a car. They storm on the glass was shattered. We pop 2 times that way, pop 1 time that way. Let's go, start up. $5 for gas. Give him $5. So he tell the go right here and go straight there. So we on it now.
Now Toto and Gangsta are headed down I-10.
Man, these dudes is lucky. That's what I'm saying. Like, he lucky as hell, man, because he keep getting all these situations and somehow getting out of it. Like, wow.
Towards New Orleans. They have an hour and a half to go without getting pulled over. Can they do it? As they approach the city of Gonzales, Gangsta notices flashing lights in the distance.
We drive. I see some lights over here. I said, man, they got a roadblock. I'm not thinking they ain't gonna have no roadblock for the juveniles back, 'cause we just ran.
Thankfully, it's just a car getting pulled over, but still, Gangsta drives extremely carefully.
I said, let me see. I kept going. They had to pull a car over. So as I'm trying to speed past them behind the 18 wheelers, another car over. I said, let me slow down. So it's kind of drizzling a little bit. Both hands on the steering wheel, one on the brakes, one on the gas. We kept going all the way till we got to New Orleans. We drove all the way till we got off on the exit by St. Charles.
Mission Impossible is finally complete as Gangsta and Toto successfully make it back to New Orleans. Now you'd think that they'd be paranoid and would only want to hide inside, but that was not the case at all. Instead, they'd walk around the neighborhood to find their friends, and while doing this, Gangsta saw something he liked.
And I saw this chick, this lady with this fat butt with skirt on. But Toto was in front of me walking. I'm behind him, so when she got to me, I was like, what's up, boo? So she stopped talking to me, and Toto laughing. Who laughing out? This was a rainbow person with the breast area.
A rainbow person.
And we kept going to go to the project.
What a way to top off such an eventful day. Well, now it's time to go home and
Said
get
a
some
rainbow
much-needed
person.
rest, except that Terrence knows that he cannot go back
Son,
to his
holla
mom's
at a dude.
house. So instead, he knocks on his aunt's door and sees if he can stay there. Obviously, she welcomes him in, and this is when he gets a call from his mom.
We go by outside the project, and Denise, my people, she brings us back in the project. So me, Toto, 4 of us in the house. So my mother was looking for me. Mother get on the phone. You all right? Yes, ma'am. You need anything? I said, yes, ma'am. So I wrote her a list, tell her like toothpaste, toothbrush, because I didn't want to use the people's stuff out of the house I was staying in.
Gangsta was advised to stay in the house as much as possible to avoid getting noticed by police and sent back to juvenile. But Gangsta could not sit still, so he decides to leave the house and go back to his old hood.
So that night, I left out. I went back around my old set, Second and Daniel. It had changed within a year because we got locked up in March. I broke out September of 91, so like a year and 6 months. Things had changed, so everybody, there's a few people out there, they looking at me, I'm looking like, yeah, I'm from this, my set, what's with y'all, you know?
Terrence is not happy that his old hood had been taken over, but he also understands that it was going to happen anyways. So he decides against starting a beef with them and instead decides to start hanging out in the Magnolia projects. And despite the fact that he's on the run for juvenile escape, he decides to go right back to his wild life in the streets. Sadly, Toto opts to do the same thing, but for him, he's arrested in the Callio projects a few days later. Toto is absolutely pissed, especially because he's facing new charges for a gun. In fact, he's so pissed that he asks Terrence to break him out of jail before he can be sentenced. Obviously, this is a terrible idea, but in typical Terrence Williams fashion, he decides to do it.
Supercharge your business with the all-new Shopify Point of Sale, the all-in-one.
Now, this is what we about to do. We about to do some crazy stuff, man. We about to try to break him out to youth study. When they open the door, we're gonna run in there, get him out of there.
The initial idea is to break in the juvenile center and rush Toto out. Gangsta and his friends are ready to do it, but coincidentally, the day of the plan, Toto has a court date. As you know, courtrooms are surrounded by tons of police, so they're obviously not going to still try to break him out, right? Well, unbelievably, they come up with a second plan.
So what happened, they had moved him from there to the courthouse. The plan now is to go around there, and when he come out the courthouse, put a gun on the guard, get him from there.
So they head over to the courthouse ready to break him out. They get there, and right then, Gangsta has a moment of clarity.
I said, man, don't y'all think if we go around and try to free him up, people might see us and try to get to us or whatever the case may be. He said, yeah, you're right. So I was like, good.
Thankfully, the plan failed, and Toto was sent back to LTI. So with Toto being arrested and sent back, you'd think that Gangsta would want to lay low and learn from his friend's mistakes. But this was not the case at all, even with Mosquito, George, and Toto being locked up. He had nobody left to run with in the streets, so to fill up his days, he actually enrolled back in school. He enrolled with a fake name and risked his freedom just so he could hang in the hallways and talk to girls. Gangsta recalls this as the most fun and relaxing time of his life, as all he was focused on was having fun. Well, this kind of lifestyle would last for a few months as he awaited his friends returning from jail. Eventually, George and Mosquito would be released from jail, and Gangsta went right back to his old life in the streets.
Right,
George come home,
same shit.
so all three of us ran together now, robbing people, doing well. We got, get money. We had a big, long thumbcocker 4.4. We had a thumbcocker 357. 9mm and Mac 11s and stuff.
The trio was absolutely tearing up the streets of New Orleans. They would hang out in the projects and spend their days committing sporadic crimes. But then on a random day, they notice something that pisses them off. The guy who had told on them for stealing his car has that same car parked right in the projects. Even though the guy had literally done nothing wrong, George and Gangsta still wanted to get revenge.
One morning, me and George, we bored. The same guy we robbed that caused us to go to juvenile jail, his truck is parked. What are the chances? So I'm like, wait till he come out, we gonna kill him.
So George and Gangsta patiently wait outside for the man to come back to his car. Then hours and hours go by and the man never comes to his car.
He told him he got us in trouble, man, with juveniles. George like, man, he might be in there too long. So George had a 36-round clip and shot the truck up.
At this point, they have no regard for people's property and most importantly, human life. Every day brings new destruction as they're tearing up the New Orleans streets. But as they say, what goes around comes around too. Gangsta and his crew felt untouchable because to this point, they seriously had never been touched. However, when you're living reckless and wild, you'll run into people who are just as reckless as you. Their first consequences in the streets would come on a random day in the Magnolia Projects.
I was on Magnolia Street, Magnolia 6. There's this car pull up. They want to buy
Well, instead of selling to the man, Terrence's crew decide to rob him. While all of this is happening, Terrence happens to be in the corner watching. So while his friends are going through the guy's stuff, Terrence notices that the guy is armed and dangerous.
He got a chrome gun in his hand. I see the gun. It's dark in the courtyard where he's at. So he starts shooting. And when he's shot, I get hit in the foot.
Thankfully, the guy misses both of Terrence's friends, but he hits Terrence in the foot. So now, even though he's wanted by police, Terrence knows that he needs to go to the hospital. So his friends rush him to the emergency room, and thankfully he's able to be fixed up. Now, because he's wanted for juvenile escape, in a normal society, he would be taken straight to jail. But this is New Orleans, and nobody knows what's going on. So without running his name or checking his record, he's sent right out of the hospital.
Yeah, I got up out of there. I made it up out of there.
Man, that's crazy.
Can I do something? Give me a second. Can I say something? Hello? Because she here. People here.
What's Sam mama? What's Sam with you? La, c'est la.
And make sure y'all subscribe, man. Hit that like button, man. Show some love and share this video.
Well, at this point, Terrence is really invincible as he seems to duck and dodge his way out of every consequence. Whether it's getting away with a bunch of crimes, escaping juvenile jail, or hospitals not even running his name. Gangsta simply can never be taken down, or at least that's what it was seeming like. But then he finally makes a mistake that puts a temporary end to all of his madness. Him and his boys decide to hit a house lick for the very first time. Even though they're already making money in the streets, they decide to do it just for the sake of doing it. So for their first step, they rent a car from a guy they know. For $10, he lets them use the car, but they have to return it in a few hours. Well, now that they have a getaway car, they decide to do it.
No, we had a guy that was selling in the project. We decided to rob the house.
To get in the house, George wants to push in the air conditioning and have Terrence climb inside.
No, at first he was like, man, we can get this window, man, I'm going in there. So what happened is they got an air condition. Push the air condition in. He said, man, get in. I said, no, man, somebody might be in there. He said, man, I'm gonna start shooting something. Yeah, but you might hit me.
So that's when Terrence thinks of a better solution. Let's find someone else to hop in first.
So I go run around and get this crackhead, have her to come back. We put her in the window.
So she hops in, runs around.
Man, everybody know. You go to the crackhead, they down for whatever. They'll do it. They'll run up in there, you know what I'm saying? Give them one, give them a little couple dollars. Yeah, they'll do it. They'll risk getting their head shot off, all that. They don't give a damn. They'll do it. Crackheads, serious.
And says that nobody's inside. So now it's officially go time.
So she get back out the window, so that lets us know nobody's there. I get in there, he get in there. I go straight to the closet. They got a pump gun. We took that. Then I went in the drawer. That's where all the money, stacks of money. So I'm stuffing the money in my pockets, hiding money in my socks and all that. We get all the money out the drawer.
Boom, they hit the house. Now it's time to drive away and return the car. But instead, Terrence opts to go straight to the mall to blow all of the money. So he goes in a jewelry store and buys a grill, and George stands outside and talks to some girls. They think that it's a great day, but little do they know they had gone.
Another thing I don't understand. Why would they even leave the money in there like that? You know what I'm saying? Just in case somebody do break in or whatever, or try to get up in there. Why would they leave the stash right there in the drawer? Like, seriously. Dudes be wildin', man.
Over the time with the car, and the owner decided to report it stolen.
I'm thinking the car good because we paid $10 for the car. The man had reported cost because we were gone over the time.
Because of this, New Orleans police start searching the city for the car. So right after wasting their money, George and Terrence hop in the car and head down Canal Street. That's when police get behind them, corner them in, and then arrest them. Obviously, they know nothing about the home invasion, but they get them for the stolen car. So now Terrence faces charges of stealing a car and escaping juvenile.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payment.
Or is that right? Well, you must not know Terrence because he already had a plan to shake it. So the court date comes around, and here's what happens. Somehow the courts don't double check his identity and they accept him as Richard Broomfield. Because of this, the judge sees that he's a good student and doesn't have a criminal record. So even though it's a serious charge, the judge decides to be lenient and offers him probation for a few more years.
Wow.
And just like that, Terrence is able to duck consequences yet another time. George and his mother have no idea that this occurred, and while he was released, they were at home debating whether he was going to go to jail or sent back home. And that's when Terrence pops up out of nowhere.
George and my mother, he going back to juvenile jail. They got his butt now. My man ain't know that boy smart. He gonna get up out of there. Soon as they're in there having a debate, I knock on the door. Back.
So now he's on supervised release under his fake name, and he's wanted for juvenile escape for his real name. He's maybe the most wanted man in New Orleans, and the courts just simply have no idea. Terrence takes the justice system as a complete joke, and he decides to go out to the club the same night he's released. So a couple of his friends come to pick him up from the Magnolia Projects, and they head down Willow Street. After making a right turn out of the projects, the police get behind them and turn on their lights. The driver forgot to use his turn signal, and now the police smell you-know-what in the car. So they direct them to step out of the car, and they pat them all down.
I don't even think to run or nothing, man. That man pat me down and found the gun.
So now Terrence is handcuffed sitting on the curb facing a misdemeanor gun charge.
George come outside like, give him a fake name, yo. I'm like, bro, I can't go back to juvenile.
Terrence knows that going to juvenile court is a horrible idea because he'd have to face the judge who just let him out under the Richard Broomfield name. So going to juvenile court is not an option, so he comes up with plan B. He recently turned 18, and because of this, he figures that giving them his real name and date of birth might be the best idea.
Can't go back now, so I give him my real name, but...
I give it to him, though. He was smart as hell as a young boy. He was on point. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was tough with it. He was smart. I ain't even gonna front, because he had all kind of plans.
74 date of birth.
So now it's March of 1992, and Terrence makes his court appearance for first-time gun possession, a misdemeanor charge in Louisiana. This in itself really isn't that serious, as the max sentence is only 6 months in jail, but typically people only get probation. However, the district attorney makes a major mistake and circles felony on his charge.
I go to court for the gun. They made a mistake in circle felony on the gun. But really, the gun was my first time as an adult, so it was really a state misdemeanor.
Because of this crucial mistake, the judge dismisses his charges.
Gotta let him go.
So once again, he somehow wiggles his way out of consequences. However, because he used his real name, he still had to serve the remainder of his juvenile sentence. While Terrence agrees that this is fair, but he does have one request. Send me to the LTI in Monroe and don't send me to Baker. The judge thinks nothing of it and schedules him a bus ride up to Monroe. And here is where things somehow fall into Terrence's favor once again. He takes the 6-hour bus ride to Monroe with the mentality that he'll stay there
every
for
way.
3
That's
years.
crazy.
But little does he know, LTI Monroe was not informed that he was coming. So when he arrives to the facility, they don't see his name on the list and they send him right back to New Orleans. So now he's on another 6-hour bus ride right back home. After being released, he walks right back to the Magnolia Projects.
My mother inside, brother said, "Mama, guess what? I got a profit, Mom." She said, "Hey, babe." She said, "Terrence, you ain't break out again, did you?" I said, "No, Mama, they released me this time. This for real."
Gangsta is excited to be home and so are his friends, so they decide to go out to the club to celebrate. So Gangsta, George, and a couple friends from the Melphamine Projects decide to go out. At this time, the Melf is beefing with the 7th Ward, so the group of guys are on tip ready if anything happens. So the night at the club goes by just fine, as the guys have no drama. Everyone empties out into the parking lot, and that's when Norris from the Melf sees his ops from the 7th Ward. He then turns to Gangsta and George, he points out his op, and that's all it takes. Instantly, George, Gangsta, and Norris from the Melf get ready to down the op. So they whip out Blix, and in front of everyone, they walk across the parking lot. There, they look at the man, and bam! Despite being hit 16 times, somehow the man survives. Strongly looking like he was gonna get it. So this is when he's finally held accountable.
The cannabis industry is exploding nationwide, and that's why I created the Master Mentors Live Education.
You gotta ask, you gotta question, because he got away with so much, so it's like...
But then Norris Crawford comes through and saves
the
day.
I always get on the stand, they say,
"See what I mean?
Norris Crawford, I'm the one that shot Ronald Stanfield. Terrence had nothing to do with it. All it did was ticked off."
So believe it or not, because of this, Terrence is released right back to the Magnolia Projects. Somehow he's able to escape literally every situation.
Every situation, like how...
While this situation did not scare him at all, because right as he got home, he went right back to his old lifestyle in the streets. Absolutely nothing changed in Terrence's mentality, except he started hanging with a new couple of guys. While he was in jail fighting his case, he made friends with 2 specific people. First would be a guy named Dooney, a certified stepper from the 17th Ward. And second would be a guy that you would never expect. This would be Sterling, the same guy he had a standoff with a few years back. Well, while they were locked up, they ended up becoming close friends and agreeing to run the streets together once they get out.
I get out in 93, I think September 93. Dooney and Sterling already home. I come home. Then Mosquito come home. So now all us in the project, robbing, hitting legs, coming together, putting plans together. Dooney got to connect a Cuban, a It's a Latino connect.
Just like that, the Magnolia Projects had a crew of 4 dangerous men running the streets. Gangsta, Dooney, Sterling, and Mosquito were inseparable and definitely unstoppable too. They wanted to be rich, feared, and glamorized in New Orleans. They were already dangerous and feared, so to run up the money, they started moving serious weight in the streets. But unlike Birdman and Slim, they weren't business savvy and they kept blowing all of their money. So for a while, here's how it would go. First, they'd sell a bunch of you-know-what, and then they'd blow all of the profits. Then, once they realized they were broke, they would find a new supplier to rob. They were basically like a group of steppers who were trying to compete with real hustlers and kingpins. Well, once Birdman heard that they were broke, he decided to do his little brother a favor. He decided to front them some cash and a whole lot of product.
So having Birdman come through, he fronted all us a kilo, came through, hit us all over, y'all go.
Obviously, Gangsta was thankful for his big bro, but Sterling, well, he had other plans.
I saw it in Sterling how he went around. I'm like, no, don't do that. No, we can't ride no thief, boy. We ain't doing that.
Not only could Gangsta sense that Sterling wanted to rob him, but Birdman could too. So after stuffing their pockets, Birdman pulls Gangsta to the side and asks him a crazy question.
I remember him calling me to the bar, asking me, like, if it came down to it, would I take one of them out?
Even though Birdman's his blood brother, his friends are way closer and much more dear to him at this time. So in his heart, he knows very well that he would never eliminate one of his 3 friends. However, he also knows that if he doesn't please his big brother, he might not make it out of the question.
Of course I'm gonna get it right. Yeah, of course, I hand him, I pick one of them, but in my heart, I'm like, this is my brothers here, we run the street together. So if I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that, I might not make it. I'm going to the grave. This man might hit my head. So I gotta give him the answer you wanna hear. Yeah, man, I got you, man.
What a cold way to have to live. Not only does it show that he believed that his own brother would whack him, but it also shows the deep loyalty he had for his friends. The 4 of them were real brothers, through thick and thin in a city full of snakes. Gangsta, Sterling, Mosquito, and Dooney were truly an unstoppable force in New Orleans. Within a few months, all of their wishes were coming true as they were becoming real New Orleans superstars. And because of this, they were given a special name by the girls in the projects.
These girls at the project, they be calling y'all hot boys. Yeah.
Gangsta absolutely loved the name as it represented being young with money, feared and admired by all. And just like that, they started calling themselves the Hot Boys of the Magnolia. So now welcome to the Hot Boy era. Well, although they had 4 main members, the group was...
Okay, you see where Cash Money got the name Hot Boys from. Okay.
Actually larger than just them. George, Mike, Mosquito, we had all these people that were hot boys. The only reason why the 4 of us stood out is because Mike, and George ain't go to doing a life sentence for something they didn't do. You got Stone, the big dog, getting money. You got Skip over here. You got Logger Black, Soulja Slim, Dougaloo, all of them hanging over here. It's just Sterling, Dooney, Mosquito, and myself hung together every day. We all hung together every day, wore each other clothes. So it was like, hey, we the hot boy, we click tight.
Now that the Hot Boys were official and taking over the streets, Gangsta wanted to lay down some laws. We never rob each other, cross each other, hurt anyone innocent, and most importantly, we never snitch. So in order to convey these rules, Gangsta ordered a roundtable meeting with all of the members plus Birdman and Slim.
We all had sat at the round table talking, right? So as I'm looking around the table, these killers around them, Birdman, everybody, we getting money. I was like, listen, man, as we sit down, we talk about things, what you don't do, da-da-da. That's when all the rules come about. I was very vocal. So I'm looking at Birdman, I'm like, if you ever get stopped by the police or if you ever get hemmed up, don't talk to the police. Do not get no statements. That's a violation. I made all these rules. That's why now, in this day and time, I don't get mad or be upset with none of them because I made those rules. Don't sit down, don't never talk with the police. Don't never, go under an interrogation. I want my lawyer. I knew better.
So is that where the whole stop snitching thing come from? Makes you wonder because, it's a whole thing on this, no snitching, stop snitching, being being a rat type shit, you know. But is this where it generated? Okay.
When I was in my juvenile state, when the man wanted me to give a statement when I was a juvenile, I said, I want my lawyer. My mother had to coach me on the phone, telling me, you don't want to talk, you want your lawyer.
So now that the rules were set, the Hot Boys were out in the streets for money, power, and blood if they need to. I emphasize if they need to because at first, the Hot Boys really had no rivals. Even though Gangsta, Dooney, and Sterling had a bunch of bodies before the Hot Boys, none of them had any lingering beef. In fact, to this point, between Mosquito and Gangsta, they had 12 combined bodies, none of them involving any type of beef. So other than a small and lingering beef between the Magnolia and 10th Ward, the Hot Boys really had nobody to worry about. Instead, they were simply focused on being the hottest thing in New Orleans, getting all the girls and getting all the money. Gangsta, Sterling, Dooney, and Mosquito were rising superstars, but what if I told you that they weren't even the most popular Hot Boy? That introduces us to a young man named James Tapp, commonly known at the time as Magnolia Slim. As the name suggests, Slim was born and raised in the projects, and he was known as a hustler that nobody wanted to mess with. He was a tall and skinny moneymaker, but
having bad teeth, your self-esteem suffers. I went to Clear Choice.
End up being with
now,
Master P.
I don't feel
was ready to go to war over the Hot Boys. However, aside from his street life, Slim was also a very talented rapper. Early on, he would make a name for himself rapping in the projects, but then he would progress to performing at block parties and even high school proms. Then by 1993, Slim was only 16 years old and already the hottest up-and-coming rapper in the city. He started being recognized all over the region and was even booked for his first show. That takes us to November 14th, 1993. It's a huge day for the Hot Boys as Slim is set to perform for the very first time in New Orleans. It's actually a real concert and everyone from the city is flooding in to watch. Obviously, most people are there to support a new local star, but in a city like New Orleans, you'll also have a bunch of haters too. Well, everyone floods into the concert by 10 p.m. and that's when Slim finally hits the stage. As soon as he hits the stage, the 16-year-old star is overwhelmed by cheering fans. It's a huge moment not only for Slim and his family, but also the Hot Boys who were all in the concert. But then out of nowhere, a hater pops up and tries to spoil the performance.
This fool get on the stage and caught himself trying to diss Magnolia Slim. How you diss one of the hottest upcoming rappers in our city? And we deep in here this day.
Little does he know the Hot Boys are all in the concert and are always ready to handle business. As you know, they've eliminated people for much, much less. Well, as soon as they notice him, the Hot Boys rush towards the stage and tell him to get down.
He on the stage, we like, ooh, get the F off the stage, that third wall. He was like, all right, y'all got that, get off the stage.
This right here definitely could have had lethal consequences, but thankfully the Hot Boys allowed him to apologize. The reason that they didn't harm the guy is because they didn't want to ruin Slim's special night. They wanted him to end his concert on a positive note. However, this would not be possible. Just 5 minutes after the hater hopped on stage, another hater tries to ruin the night. While all of the Hot Boys are focused on the concert, a random man walks up to one of their little homies and socks him in the face. The teenager is discombobulated, he looks around for help, and nobody's paying attention. So instead of fighting back, he heads for the exit and waits in the parking lot. He waits there for 20 minutes until the concert ends and all of the Hot Boys come outside. He doesn't tell them what happened out of embarrassment, but someone else does. A friend of Gangsta's from the Calliope walks up to him and tells him what he witnessed somebody do to his younger homie. He also tells him that the little homie didn't fight back and he wants to know what's up with that. Gangsta doesn't believe it, as in his mind there's no way one of his younger homies wouldn't fight back. So he calls him over and asks him one simple question: did you get punched in the face? He tells him yes, and then Gangsta asks him to point out exactly who did it. He points to a man across the parking lot, and Gangsta says nothing and turns around to his homies. He whispers something in their ears, and they all begin walking across the parking lot. So in front of over 100 people, they walk right up to the man and make a horrible decision.
We saw the dude when we got outside. He got killed.
So not even on Slim's big day could the Hot Boys go without doing something reckless. Doing this simply because of a punch and doing it in front of 100 people with no mask is actually crazy.
Right.
But in New Orleans, this is just a regular occurrence, and the craziest part is that out of all the witnesses, not a single person would talk to police. But regardless of all these people not testifying, this still left a terrible impression for the Hot Boys.
Wow. Yeah, man, like I said, it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. Yo, gotta get out of here, you know what I mean? So, I appreciate y'all kicking it with me again, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it ain't over. Stay tuned for part 3. You know what I mean? I got you covered. Until the next time, see you on the next video. Peace!
Stay true. Faith walk. Mad issues. Head crack. Shorty caught it like weed. The way she dancing on me.